My first two children entered the world to the sound of my laughter, great big peals of uncontrollable laughter. When my third child was born on a cruelly hot night last summer in a sterile delivery room, his experience was no different. My reaction to birthing a child may have seemed bizarre to a besieged and battle-weary hospital staff in the midst of a pandemic, but I believe that my joy was a normal response to my scenario. Celebratory joy felt particularly appropriate for the occasion, given the reality of Black mothers' experiences in America: a global health pandemic, a nationwide racial reckoning, and horrifying rates of Black maternal mortality. My choice to laugh in the face of all of this was a reflection of what the historian Kelly Carter Jackson calls violent joy, a kind of joy that is rooted in an insistence on Black humanity and an assertion of Black personhood. For many people, though, a Black mother choosing joy is in stark contrast to the most prominent stories about Black motherhood. Throughout generations, society has rendered Black mothers dangerous. Just think of the American mythology surrounding the so-called menace of the pathological Black matriarch of the 1960s, the treacherous welfare queen of the 1970s, and the drug-addicted crack mother and her babies of the 1980s. Black mothers' private lives are consistently subjected to public surveillance, scrutiny, and judgment, as if to suggest that these women cannot be trusted to be responsible for themselves, or that they are unfit for motherhood. Recently, social justice movements have helped expand and shift ideas about Black mothers and motherhood for the better, like through increased attention to the Black maternal health crisis and through the advocacy of Black mothers who have lost their children to police violence. Yet, much of the American public still understands Black motherhood as an idea rooted in crisis, as the feminist theorist Jennifer Nash explains in her new book, Birthing Black Mothers. Over the past few months, I've interviewed a number of Black mothers about those needs, wants, and experiences that make up their lives. Our conversations were centered on one question: what does free Black motherhood look like to you? Our discussions were revealing, with everyone offering different ideas of motherhood unbound by societal assumptions, expectations, and restrictions. Even so, a consistent refrain began to emerge. Black mothers see choice, control, and self-definition as integral parts of their visions of freedom. Perhaps the best summary of all of the responses was an observation from the Reverend Teresa Thames, who said, "Freedom for Black mothers looks like walking through the world, living and thriving without bracing yourself for the trauma that results from white supremacy and rampant inequality." Last year's racial reckoning and the pandemic have magnified this sensibility, pushing a lot of Black mothers to acknowledge that their experience of motherhood is compounded by a unique kind of suffering. Still, the women I spoke with rejected a framing that rooted their experiences of motherhood in pain. Their ideas of free Black motherhood were connected to a unified understanding of agency. As a Black mother of 3 children who has lived her entire life under the heaviness of racist limitations and violence, I am exhausted. But Black women have always found value in creating new visions for ourselves, even when that new vision simply means welcoming your child into the world with great big peals of uncontrollable laughter.